Alrighty, good afternoon, Middle Georgia. This is Meteorologist Noah Hauck. We're just going to be doing another update now that we've made it into the early portions of our Saturday afternoon. Kind of go over what the radar looks like and still what we can be expecting heading throughout tonight, and especially hitting onto that those cold temperatures heading into tomorrow morning and even Monday morning as well. So just want to give it maybe a minute or two so people can start to file on in here, and then we'll get started. And we'll do it just like I did last night. We'll go over it once, and then if anybody was able to join in the middle of me doing it that time, I'll do it one more time just to make sure everybody gets the full picture. And then we'll get off of here, and then in maybe 2 or 3 hours, we'll do another one and give another update. But again, I'm Meteorologist Noah Hauck, and I'm here with Chief Meteorologist Ryan Stinnett. So we're going to be here throughout the remainder of this afternoon, just going over what's going on outside. And yeah, I'm just helping to keep you informed throughout your Saturday. So just giving it about 30 more seconds, letting some more people file on in here, and we will get started. So hope so far everybody has been staying warm across Middle Georgia. It is already cold out there, even on my way into work earlier this morning. It was just downright cold. It was windy and it was just cold on top of that. So just really made me want to keep my hat and my gloves on earlier today. So hope everybody has been managing to stay warm out there throughout this afternoon. And yeah, I think we'll just go ahead and get started. We're going to be starting off with this image right here. This is still going to be those winter weather alerts across Middle Georgia. It's going to be fairly similar to yesterday with a little bit of an expansion with that winter weather advisory, but still, if you're going to be in these pink areas, that's that winter storm warning. Seeing about maybe 2 inches of snow or more, that's the criteria. Then more of this deep purple right here, that's now going to include over into Taylor and Macon County, and a little bit into Sly as well, all the way over towards Columbus. This is going to be that winter weather advisory. That means you can be expecting some of that winter weather, but just not nearly up to those 2 inches. So maybe some snow up to that 2-inch mark, but maybe a little bit less. Now, just about 30 minutes ago over in downtown Dublin, the snow was coming down pretty good, but at the moment, it looks to have at least ceased for the moment. But you can see that camera is shaking a little bit because it's still a little gusty out there. Temperature-wise, though, going to be right at freezing, and wind out of the northwest at 15 miles an hour. So we'll check back in. Maybe by the end of this, we'll start to see a little bit more snow picking up, but maybe just a flurry or two out there, maybe seeing a flake out on the camera right now, but even just 30 minutes ago, seeing a lot more of that snow. So what exactly does it feel like out there across Middle Georgia? Well, in Macon, only feeling like 18 degrees. Same up in Monticello. Over towards Thomaston, only feeling like 14. Then as you head a little bit more towards the south, down towards McRae, typically our warmer spots down towards the south, only feeling right at freezing. So across the board, just a very windy day out there, and really just a bitterly cold day as well. And we're looking at that radar, starting to see more of that snow into those eastern portions of the mid-state, specifically over in Sparta, Sandersville, and Wrightsville. And that's over here where we were just looking at that camera at Dublin. So starting to see a little bit of that snow move on out of there, and then a few flurries up towards the 75 area, towards the northern portions of our viewing area. And that's really going to be something we'll also be watching throughout the remainder of the day, is that right now it looks like that snow is starting to come off of the radar, but we're seeing even a little bit of sunshine out there as well. But some of that sunshine peeking on through could help to see some more snow as we head throughout the remainder of today, giving a little bit more of that instability into the atmosphere, allowing for that air to rise, condense, and produce maybe some more snow out there as well. So don't be too upset if you don't see anything at the moment. We'll just have to be watching it throughout the remainder of this afternoon, but still seeing a majority of that heavier snow in those eastern counties, just like we were talking about really the last half of this week. So let's play through what could possibly happen throughout the remainder of this afternoon. Still seeing those temperatures right at freezing and or below heading throughout this afternoon. Again, primarily expecting it to be heaviest in those eastern counties, and still could be seeing some snow showers along that 75-16 corridor, and still maybe a few over just to the west of that corridor as well. This graph model isn't picking up on it quite well, but still is possible out there for sure. And then by the time we make it to about 6 to 8 p.m. tonight, it'll start getting out of here, clearing on out, but temperatures really starting to drop. And in terms of visibility, over towards Milledgeville, only about 7 miles, so seeing a little bit of that reduced visibility from that snow. maybe a little bit lower up towards Hancock and maybe even Putnam County with some of that heavier snow. And again, because it is so gusty out there today and the snow is going to be a lot finer than we saw it just 2 weeks ago, there's a possibility to see some of that blowing snow as well. And that can also help to reduce visibility, making it even more difficult to do any sort of travel today as well. So that's the other thing, is that the fact that it's just windy out there. So by the time we make it to right around 2 p.m., so in about 30 minutes or so, could be seeing some of those wind gusts in those maybe low 30s to even some spots in those low 40s. Again, these are gusts, so that doesn't mean they're going to be happening consistently for a long period of time, but could be feeling them for a short period for about a couple of seconds, but still going to be just a windy day nonetheless. And again, this is where we're going to be seeing some of those impacts. Besides just the fact that it's snowing, it's also just going to be downright cold. And even by the time that snow gets on out of here, it'll still be fairly windy out there. And this will be helping us to see some very cold temperatures heading into tonight and even into tomorrow morning. So even by the time we make it to about 6 a.m. on our Sunday, potential wind gusts in those low 20s. And so as we head throughout our Sunday, still going to be rather gusty and rather windy out there, then finally starting to calm down as we head into our Monday. But for the fact that it's going to be cold and windy at the same time, we have an extreme cold warning in effect for everybody here in Middle Georgia. And this is because wind chills could have the potential to be anywhere from -5 to maybe about 10 degrees. And that just means it'll be very, very cold. So even if you stand outside for just a few minutes, you can start to feel the effects of maybe a little bit of that hypothermia. So you want to make sure you are bundled up heading throughout really today from right now until we head into maybe just really Sunday and our Monday as well, to make sure you're staying warm out there. So what about our feels like temperatures? This is also going to be known as our wind chills. By the time we head it to right about 8 p.m., already seeing some places possibly in those single digits, but across the board at least going to feel like those teens. Then as we head to about tomorrow morning around 7:30, now I'm still going to see almost everybody now in those single digits, and some places getting close to 0. Over towards Thomaston, possibly only feeling like 3 degrees. Over towards Monticello, maybe only feeling like 5 degrees. So still seeing that wind direction coming out of the northwest, so bringing that Arctic air down here into Middle Georgia. As we head towards Sunday afternoon, right around 5 p.m., it'll warm up a little bit. It'll feel a little bit warmer, but still feels like temperatures only going to be in those upper 20s to maybe just those low 30s. So Sunday, just a generally cold day. And then going back down to those wind chills, about those teens heading into our Monday morning. And so in terms of just impacts, this has been changing ever since we looked at it, even just last night. Yesterday, showing more of this yellow, kind of stretching along the 1675 corridor, encompassing a little bit more of Monroe County, Bibb, all the way down towards Peach and maybe Housing County, but now it's kind of been lifting off to the north and to the east a little bit. And then over here with this orange, this is going to be more of that moderate impact, accounting for maybe those heavier bands of snow mixed in. We did also see just a little bit of that red color mixed in, or those major impacts over towards Sparta and Eatonton, but it looks like they've come down on that just a little bit, and we're seeing more potentially just minor impacts over in those eastern counties. So the fact that this is coming down is good, but it also is because we are starting to get into the event itself as well. But in terms of just what are we expecting when it comes to impacts, well, not expecting a whole lot of power outages to be really throughout this event at all. But if that is to occur by chance, it's not going to be from the snow. Again, snow is going to be light and pretty fine. So if you're going to see power outages, more likely than not, because of that wind, able to whip around those power lines and maybe cause them to snap. Also, the fact that it would be very windy, again, blowing snow is a possibility that could reduce visibilities, making it more dangerous to be traveling. Also, we could be seeing some slick and icy roads out there, and again, just some general dangerous travel conditions. So if you happen to be in the case where you need to be traveling today and there happens to be some snow on the road, even just a ½ inch can cause problems, especially when it is going to be this cold outside. It makes it more likely that it'll stick on the road and cause slippery conditions. So you want to make sure you're being cautious out there and you're driving fairly slow, and also leaving plenty of space between you and the person in front of you, just in case they happen to have issues. You're not going to be super close and have the risk of running into them. But you also want to make sure you're not slamming on those brakes and or accelerating harshly, because that could cause you to lose traction on the road and then cause you to slide. And also clean off your vehicle before driving, just because as we head throughout tonight, since it's going to get just so bone chilling cold, that snow could also freeze just a little bit on your vehicle. So if it is to fly off, it could cause somebody else to have an accident. But across the board, heading throughout the next couple of days, still have those weather warning days for tomorrow and Monday in effect, and because it's just going to be so cold out there. Low temperature heading into Monday morning, right around 18 degrees. Then as we head throughout our first week of February, those temperatures finally start to come back up, maybe getting so close to average this time of year. Should be right about a high of 61 degrees. Heading towards Wednesday, a high right around 58. And then those lows coming up to about average as well, being in those upper 30s. So although it's not going to feel like summer, it is still going to feel a little bit warmer than what it's been feeling like right now. That's pretty much what I've got right now, and if you're seeing some of that snow out there, we have had some people from earlier live streams comment that there is some snow, especially over in those eastern counties. So if you'd like to share with us, you're more than welcome to with our Chime In app. You can scan that QR code on the screen right here and or go to wgxa.tv/chimein. We would of course love to see those photos, especially if you're able to get out there and have some fun and enjoy the snow today. It can possibly be in a post on our website later this weekend or early next week, and maybe even be in the newscast. So if that's something you'd be interested in, that's going to be right there. I'll leave it up for just a couple seconds. And then we'll go through it one more time in case anybody was happening to join in the middle of me talking, and we'll just go from there. So again, it is about 1:40 p.m. on our Saturday, seeing some snow out there across middle Georgia, and I'll be getting out of here by late this evening and a little bit into tonight as well. So we will put it back up to our winter weather alerts and just start from there once again. So over in this pink color is going to be that winter storm warning. This means that you have the chance to see snow of 2 inches and or more. So primarily going to be to the north and the east of the I-16-75 corridor. Then as you head to more of this dark purple over here, that's going to be that winter weather advisory. And since last night, they have expanded it more towards the west. So now including Taylor and Macon County and a little bit into Sly over towards Columbus and LaGrange. So that just means you're going to be expecting some winter weather conditions, but just not nearly enough to warrant the criteria to put you in that winter storm warning. So snow possibly up to 2 inches. So not saying that you're going to see all the way up to 2 inches, just anywhere in that range. So over in downtown Dublin, it was snowing quite a good bit about 30 minutes ago. It looks like it's starting to hold off for the moment, but temperature-wise, right at 32 degrees on that Wilson Bryan Heat and Air Skycast network, and a wind out of the west-northwest at 16 miles an hour. And when we did this probably about 10-15 minutes ago, when we went through this the first time, the camera was shaking a good bit. Again, just because it's going to be a very breezy, very gusty day out there today, so you might even see this shake if we come back to it near the end, just to check back in one more time to see if it might be snowing once again, but right at the freezing temperature of 32 degrees. And in terms of how it feels like outside or those wind chill temperatures, going to be in those 20s and even those teens across the board, maybe just one spot towards McRae right in at 32, but even towards Thomaston, already feeling like 11 degrees. In Macon, right about 18, over towards Milledgeville and Sparta, seeing more of that snow, only feeling like 16 and 18 degrees. But other than that, feeling like into those 20s. So just a very cold Saturday for this weekend, especially the last day of our January. In terms of our radar, seeing more of that heavier snow over towards those eastern counties, so Hancock, Washington, and Johnson. Again, over in downtown Dublin, where we were just looking on that sky cam, we did have that snow moving on through, but looks like getting out for the moment. We do still have some sporadic showers over towards the north and western portions of the mid-state, and though it does look like they are dissipating and disappearing at the moment, but that doesn't mean we can't see more start to form later this afternoon, because we're starting to see some peaks of sunshine even in downtown Macon as I stepped out just to see what was happening about 15-20 minutes ago before I got on to do this, and there was a little bit of sunshine. So although that could be disappointing to hear, it does mean that it can add to a little bit of instability here at the surface, allowing that air to rise, condense, and then possibly form some more snow showers throughout the remainder of the afternoon. So don't give up hope quite yet, because you still could see the chance to see some of that snow out there. So let's just play through what we could see throughout the remainder of this afternoon. Now the graph model is going to be showing more of that heavy snow into those eastern and northern counties. It might not really be catching on to some of the snow and sporadic snow over into western portions, so just keep that in in mind, but as we head throughout the remainder of today, going to be seeing it sticking around for at least another few hours, especially in those eastern counties, which is really what we've been hitting hard the last couple of days. And then by the time we get out and out of here, about 7 p.m., it'll start to leave our area. Things will clear on out and temperatures will really start to drop. And in terms of our visibility, this has been fluctuating the last 15 minutes. It's kind of backed off really from up in Hancock in Putnam County and even towards Milledgeville just a little bit ago, about 7 miles in terms of visibility, but now back up to 10. So we do have the chance to see some blowing snow out there, and just if you have heavy snowfall in general, that can reduce visibilities and make it a little difficult to see if you're going to be out there traveling. But it's also a very windy day out there. By the time we make it to about 2 p.m., so in about 17 minutes, could be seeing some gusts up to about 30 to maybe even the low end of 40 miles an hour. And again, a gust is not going to feel like wind. It's just going to be a short burst of that fast wind, not all the time and or consistent, but just means that you could feel pretty cold out there with all of that wind. By the time we make it to about 3 p.m., still sticking with those mid to upper 30s, maybe even those low 40s in some localized spots. And then by the time we make it to about 10 p.m. tonight, seeing them calm down a little bit, still could possibly be into those mid to upper 20s. And then as we head into the overnight hours into our Sunday, still in those 20s, which is why it's going to be feeling just so downright cold throughout tonight and really even into tomorrow as well. And those winds still sticking around throughout our Sunday before finally calming down as we head into our Monday. And so the fact that it's going to be so windy and just having that Arctic air here in general, we have that extreme cold warning in effect for everybody here in Middle Georgia. So that means that those wind chill values have the potential to be anywhere from -5 to about 10 degrees. So just a downright cold evening. And if you have any plans or really are just wanting to celebrate the weekend or maybe heading into our February, make sure that you are going to be bundled up. You have that winter coat, you have gloves, a scarf, maybe even a hat, because if you're exposed to this sort of temperature for very long, you could start to experience hypothermia, and if left untreated, that could cause some very serious problems. So we want everyone to be safe, so make sure you are bundling up and staying warm if you have the capabilities. Make sure you have those extra blankets, maybe even if you have the space heater, just make sure it's about 3 feet away from anything, just to prevent it from catching on fire, or catching really anything else on fire as well. So in terms of those feels like temperatures or those wind chills throughout the remainder of today, by the time we make it to about 8 p.m., now seeing some places maybe already into those single digits. And then by the time we make it to about tomorrow morning at 7:30, pretty much everybody now going to be in those single digits and possibly getting close to 0 degrees. Over towards Thomaston, possibly only at 3. Over towards Monticello, possibly only at 5. But regardless, even if you don't make it all the way down to 0, the fact that you're in the single digits is just going to feel downright cold and just rather abysmal. And then as we head towards about 5 p.m., it'll warm up a little bit, but still, because it'll still be windy, seeing those feels like temperatures in those upper 20s to even those lower 30s before seeing those teens return heading into our Monday morning. And in terms of our impacts, this has been updating ever since we looked at it yesterday, and it has lightened a little bit in terms of the severity over towards that 1675 corridor, especially heading throughout Warner Robins and Macon up through Forsyth. We're seeing more of that yellow or that minor impact, but now seeing more of the limited. So starting to lift off toward the north and towards the east as well. And here in those eastern counties, still seeing this orange right here or that moderate. And just yesterday, even had a little bit of that red peeking on through or those major impacts. So it has been lessening, which is a good thing because it's now we're in the event, so we don't have nearly as much data to go off of, but also could be hinting at things that are not going to be as bad as it was seeing yesterday, which is all some good news. But in terms of actual impacts, what could we be expecting? Well, not really expecting any sort of power outages, because for this event particular, we're not dealing with any of that freezing rain like we talked about just last week, and the snow will also be pretty small and pretty fine. So if there are going to be any outages out there, it'll be because of how strong that wind is whipping around those power lines, causing them to possibly snap. But because of also having all that wind, blowing snow is also a possibility, potentially reducing visibilities, making travel a little bit more dangerous. Could see some slick and icy roads out there, and just overall some dangerous road conditions because of just how cold it is, and really all of the mornings this week being below freezing, helping to prime the ground, allowing that snow to stick a little bit easier. So even just a ½ inch of snow can start to cause problems if it sticks on those roads. So if you're going to be driving out there, we try to advise that you aren't driving out there, but sometimes we know you just absolutely have to. So make sure you're being cautious, you're driving slow out there, and make sure you leave space between you and the person in front of you, just in case they happen to have any issues. You have a good amount of time to slow down and not slam on the brakes or accelerate very harshly, because that can cause you to lose traction on the road and cause you yourself to slip as well. And also try to make sure to clean off your vehicle before you drive, because some of that snow, if you leave it overnight, it could start to freeze and turn into really hard chunks. And if it flies off, it can hit another car and possibly cause another accident as well. So across the board, heading throughout the remainder of this weekend into our Sunday and our Monday, still do have those weather warning days in effect. We're not expecting any of those snow showers to linger into our Sunday or Monday, so that's because it'll just be so cold. So tomorrow morning, that low right around 13 to 14 degrees, and still seeing those feels like temperatures in those single digits. And then in terms of our Sunday or Monday morning, low temperature right around 18. So still just very, very cold out there, but things will start to warm up as we head into our first week of February, getting close to average. We've been well below average for the last really few days to about a week now, but the average high this time of year should be about 61 degrees, and the low should be about 37. So as we head towards our Wednesday, that'll be our closest day to average, high right around 58, and that morning low right around 39 degrees. So it'll warm up a little bit, but still going to be winter as we are just now heading into February. But as we head still throughout the remainder of today, there is the chance to see some more snow out there, and we want you to have fun. We want you to enjoy it and be safe. So if you feel like you want to share with us, maybe have it in a news story or maybe have it on TV as well, you can always do that and share it with us at Chime In if you scan that QR code right there on your screen. Or if you'd rather just go to the website, it's wgxa.tv/chimein. Now, that's pretty much all I've got for right now. Let's see. Just going to go through our Facebook and our YouTube, seeing if there are any questions out there, and then we'll just leave it at that. Let's see. All right, somebody asked if we are going to get ice tonight. I'm gonna say not expecting. So like last week we were talking about the threat for that freezing rain. That's not going to be a threat this time around. However, if you are going to see some of that snow stick on the grounds, maybe even some of those roads, as we head throughout tonight, temperatures are going to be well below freezing, allowing that snow to stick around and still cause some very slick conditions. So just something to think about as we head throughout tonight. All right, and then someone's asking about Wheeler County. So let's go back and we will pull up our radar. Get that going again. So yeah, down over towards Wheeler County, really not seeing any of that snow at the moment. It looks like there was about 30 minutes to an hour, just about 30 minutes ago, really seeing some of that snow. But at the moment, not seeing any currently. This doesn't mean you can't see any as we head throughout the remainder of this evening, but the higher amounts are probably going to be concentrated up towards Hancock, Washington, and even Johnson County. So there was a little bit of snow a little bit ago. But some places, even like we were seeing downtown Dublin just 10 minutes ago, was seeing that snow but wasn't sticking just quite yet. And even over here with more of that spotty snow, it looks like it's dissipating at the moment. So if you happen to be west of that 75 corridor, seeing maybe even some peaks of that sunshine, but that could help to create some more snow later this afternoon. So still don't give up hope yet, but might still be seeing some snow later on. And even down towards Crisp and even Wilcox County, now starting to see a little bit more of that snow. So really just have to give it throughout the remainder of this afternoon to see if we could see any more. All right, and then someone says that we have snow in Milledgeville. So thank you for that, Deborah. So yeah, that is kind of along that line. We're still seeing a little bit of that snow and really has been seeing it for the last hour or two. Kind of along that line of being east and north of 75 and 16, where all of this week, or really I should say the last few days, all the a lot of the models are agreeing, showing those higher amounts off to the north and the east of the I-1675 corridor. So that's great. Thank you for letting us know that you're seeing that over there. And even if you're not seeing snow, it's still going to be cold no matter where you are. Those feels like temperatures, so for some places, already in those teens. And we're going to see over towards Thomaston only at 11. So even if you're down towards Mount Vernon and McRae, so squish right in between Wheeler County, it's still going to be cold down there even if you're not seeing that snow. So that's going to also be just a big thing to keep in mind heading throughout today. So that even though snow is going to be the bigger picture for today and really throughout the rest of this evening, heading into tomorrow, we still got to deal with those dangerously cold conditions. All right, I think that's at least all that I'm seeing in terms of questions at the moment. So of course, if you happen to be seeing this later on throughout this afternoon and have more questions, feel free to comment them and we'll try to get back to you as soon as